Welcome into another exciting edition of Locked On 76ers. He's Keith Pompey. I'm Mark Farzetta. Paul George, 3-on-3. Checking boxes, ramping up. Will he be ready? And when will he be ready? Also, Jared McCain gives us an update. We'll talk about that and more on this edition of Locked On 76ers.
You are Locked On 76ers, your daily Philadelphia 76ers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And we do thank you for making Locked On 76ers your first listen every day, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. This particular episode brought to you by the great people of the Gametime app. Download the Gametime app, create an account, use promo code Locked On NBA for $20 off your first purchase on the Gametime app. Keith Pompey. I know the Sixers weren't lucky in the offseason there. Paul George had to have surgery. We were waiting with bated breath to see what was going to happen with Joel Embiid. And now Jared McCain is coming back from an injury as well and surgery as well on his thumb. The Sixers have always appeared to be snake bit when it comes to injury, but Joel Embiid looks to be ahead of schedule. Jared McCain is saying he feels like the unluckiest man in the world, but he is making his way back. And now Paul George, all of a sudden, just like that yesterday, participating in 3-on-3s. Could things be trending in the right direction injury-wise for the Sixers? It remains to be seen. But as far as Paul George goes, when it comes to being 3-on-3 right now, in your mind, does that put him ahead, behind, or just right on schedule?
You know, it's funny because they never even told us what the schedule was, right?
Right.
So I mean, at one point they said he's doing things and he's playing well, but I don't know. It's weird because I would feel more comfortable. Like when the first day of training camp, what did I'm not calling Doc Rivers. What did Nick Nurse say? He said Joel Embiid participated in 5-on-5 scrimmaging, some parts of it. I would like to hear the same thing for Paul George right now because. So we did that, and even with that, Joel Embiid doing that, he was still at least 2 weeks away from where he is now. So when we talk about that, he hasn't even played in a game, a preseason game. So to me, it sounds good and everything sounds great, but it would be a whole lot better if he was out there doing 5-5. Now, I'm going to say this, not to say that it can't happen, because there was a time when Joel Embiid did 3-on-3 scrimmaging. Then the next day he did 5-on-5 scrimmaging. And then a couple of days later he was out there playing. But I would just feel a little bit more comfortable to say, yeah, he's right on pace if he was doing 5-on-5.
So in your experience, is this the general, sorry people, but I'm going to use the term, ramp up strategy for the 76ers, where they'll go from lifting weights to shoot around to being on the court a little bit, and then 3-on-3, 5-on-5, and then you're ready to play?
Yeah, sometimes, yeah, depending, right? Because it's like your way of incorporating them back into a team setting. Like, you know, before he was lifting, then we saw him doing those videos, and they keep posting them of him doing 1-on-1. Now 3-on-3 is like you're catching the ball, you know, you're doing stuff. You're not basically with the 3-on-3. A lot of times, depending on, you know, you assume that some of the stuff, at least most of it, could be in a half-court setting, right? Or you may be getting cardio up and doing it. Now, they used to do full-court 3-on-3 with the players against guys from the player development staff. But yeah, to me, it's more like a ramp-up stage to see where he is. Now, again, all this stuff, the most important stuff that they're not really telling you is the next step is after they do this, is how is the knee responding? You know what I mean? Is there any swelling? Is it sore? Yada, yada. So the next day is always the most important day for that. Well, today is Thursday. So if they're doing that, and this is supposed to be a ramp up, well, we basically know he probably ain't going to play in the game, the preseason game. And you would assume that unless they change stuff, they may have off on on Saturday. So like they probably won't know until they get back until what, Sunday to see what's going on. But Yeah, it's to me, it's all about ramp up. It really is about ramp up. But I don't see him playing in that final preseason game.
Yeah, I mean, I think the right way to look at it, I think that's how the Sixers are looking at it also, are, yeah, it'd be great to have everybody to play, but we know that's not happening, so let's just get that out of there. I think I'd be flat out shocked if Paul George, I might pass out if I see Paul George walk onto the court on Friday night for the final preseason game. I would be a little bit surprised, even with as optimistic as we've been in the last couple of days with Joel Embiid's progress. I'd still be surprised if he played on Friday. I don't think the Sixers are going to look at it as, well, we got to get him out there on Friday. I mean, I'd like to see it. I want to see him play, but I just don't think it'd be wise to have him play in a, yes, use the term meaningless game for the Sixers in the preseason. I think that the Sixers right now are in a state where they really, unfortunately, have no other choice but to have the get to know you phase go on during the season. It's not going to happen in the preseason. It's not going to happen in the practice, and it's not going to happen in Abu Dhabi. It didn't happen in Abu Dhabi. They're going to have to, unfortunately, have a lot of on-job, meaningful training during games in the first month or so of the season, and that includes in the time where not only they'll have Joel Embiid on the court, I believe, but also have Paul George on the court. I don't see the Sixers at all rolling the dice, gambling with PG, obviously, and maybe a little less obvious to people, Joel Embiid, in the final preseason game. But I am very optimistic about Joel Embiid being ready to start the season. Do you think that's a fair assessment with the information right now that the Sixers have given us?
You know what? I think, again, yeah, I do. I do think that that's part of the plan, right? But I also think that it's not. I think they're hopeful, put it that way, right? But I think that they're not trying to put pressure on him, right? Now, if we did see Joel get rolled out tonight, oh yeah, definitely he playing.
Tomorrow night.
You know what I mean? I see, or tomorrow night. Yeah, definitely. I think he's playing. And the only reason why I would play him tomorrow night is just to get him back into a packed arena, in front of a bunch of fans, have him play a quarter and get some confidence up, right? Like further increase his confidence, get him more comfortable. Like it'll be a straight fresh rehearsal. That's it. That's it. But I mean, I think that it's trending.
I agree.
I do think it's trending that he could be out there. Now again, but I do think they just don't want to put the pressure and say, oh, he's definitely playing. Like, you know what it is? I think Joel could be one of those things where, let's say the game is on the 22nd, right? On the 21st, Joel Embiid is questionable for tomorrow night's game. Like, you know what I mean? And typically a lot of times when the 76ers used to say Joel was questionable, he was probable. It was like they expected him to play, but it was just one of those things where they would just say questionable because if he didn't play, they didn't want to look like, look crazy or anything like that.
Right. Yeah. To go back to Paul George, though, when it comes to 3-on-3 and the ramp up and all that stuff, what do you think is next? Is today just the wait and see day where they see how the knee responds, see if there's any swelling, see if anything like that, and then they start him up again next week? Or do you think today he might be running around a little bit more?
It depends. I think what I would do is I would, like this morning when he comes in, check the knee out, ask him some questions.
Sure.
And then, maybe you may say, okay, we're going to do another day of 3-on-3, or let's say, like, let's incorporate you in some, like, some minutes of 5-on-5, right? But I do think with the PG aspect too, knowing PG, he's the type of guy who wants to make sure that his conditioning is top level too. So I think that, that's a step for him as well. And that may be, let's get some 5-on-5 up. Let's have him do some running on the treadmill, doing some stadiums, steps. Well, you have to go to Wells Fargo to do that, or Xfinity Mobile. But you know what I mean? Right. Like do some things, do some sprints. But yeah, I think that if everything is okay, maybe come back with another thing of 3-on-3, or step it up and have them do some scrimmaging. You know what I mean? As much scrimmaging that they're going to do, have them do that. Yeah.
The other part of it is, I think what you might have been hinting at is this might be what the Sixers are forced to do in terms of not playing Paul George for the first week or two, couple weeks of the season, not playing Joel Embiid in tomorrow night's preseason game against the Timberwolves. Hopefully still having him ready to go for the season opener, Joel Embiid, that is. But as you said, they're hopeful, but I also think they're acknowledging the idea that this isn't ideal, because I think that in a perfect world, these guys are bouncing back from injury. They're out there. They're playing together as much as possible, obviously, because I don't think anybody wants to hear at the end of the season if the Sixers are bounced out of the first round of the playoffs, flirting with making the playoffs at all. I don't think anybody wants to hear in a season that, let's just say, well, we're fast forward to the end, Joel Embiid's played 65 games or 60 games, and Paul George has played 65, 70 games. I don't think anybody wants to hear, we just didn't have enough time to get on the same page this season. We didn't have enough time to really work out all the kinks of how this was going to work. And we were really trying to get all this out of the way last year, but everybody was hurt. This year, it just didn't come together, especially with the new style of play, being a more guard-dominant team than we were a big man-dominant team. I think it's not ideal to have the Sixers in the situation that they are right now, where unfortunately these guys have been together for 2 years, but they barely actually played together over what will be 2 years at the end of this season. So I think the Sixers are in a situation right now where they realize what they're going through right now is not ideal, but I think they have to make the absolute best out of a bad scenario. And the bad scenario really has to do with not only just coming back from injury, but how that injury is affecting the time these guys playing together to learn how to play with one another.
I agree. I agree with you 100%.
That's the thing that, again, I'll look back on and say, yeah, not ideal, but you got a bunch of lemons right now, and you better be squeezing out some lemonade as soon as humanly possible. When we come back, I want to get into Jared McCain. He addressed the media yesterday, as did Nick Nurse. A little bit later in the show, Nick Nurse used a word that it definitely made me raise my eyebrows when it came to this Sixers team coming together. But we'll get into Jared McCain, his status update, how he feels, and also his future role with the 76ers. All that and more on this edition of Locked On 76ers. And right now, let me tell you about FanDuel. How amazing is FanDuel? Oh, they make your game days that much more exciting. And right now on FanDuel, new customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's right. Pick a bet, put down $5, and if it hits, you unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the FanDuel app. So head over to FanDuel.com right now to download the app to get started. I love using FanDuel because it gives you so many different ways to play. You could build parlays. You could try player props, maybe even Saquon Barkley's over when it comes to rushing yards against the Minnesota Vikings this weekend. Finally hit the over. That'd be nice. Or maybe you just continue the trend, bet the under. Watching football is so much more exciting, especially with FanDuel, whether you're a casual fan or you love diving into the statistics. FanDuel makes the game day experience that much more exciting. So what are you waiting for? Head to FanDuel.com to download the FanDuel app today and get started. That's FanDuel.com to download the FanDuel app, where your first $5 bet for new customers could get you $300 in bonus bets on FanDuel at FanDuel.com. Jared McCain addresses the media yesterday. Keith Pompey talks more or less about it. He feels like he's the unluckiest guy in the world. What do you know about the status of Jared McCain, and what could Sixers fans expect from him in the not-too-distant future?
I mean, he's trending lightly. I mean, not trending right. I mean, I think he's trending in the right way. I mean, he says he's going to be reevaluated in a couple of weeks. From that point, they're going to put like a splint on it. Or something on it, and then he could start to dribble in, doing all that other stuff. They're trying to test it out. So, I mean, it seems like everything is trending in the right direction for him to play. But the most important thing is, I think that Jared, I really like Jared. Like, Jared's a guy who's not afraid to share his emotions and everything. And the big thing that he said yesterday was more or less, talking about the haymakers. He's like, I'm looking at this and I'm just getting haymakers thrown at me, but it's part of the process. I just got to continue to trust that it happens for a reason. It sucks because I feel like I was right there, so close to being back, and then you get another setback. I'm always going to stay grounded, stay with gratitude. But yeah, just been doing simple stuff. I can't really do too much with the brace on, but moving at the same timeline as they said, and we'll see where it goes, right? But he talked about how when he found out about it, like he was near his house when they got the MRI back and told him what happened. And he basically cried. Like he called his mom, he called his psychiatrist, and this and that. He talked about hearing it pop. He said it was just talking about how the injury happened.
Yeah.
He would say it was such a freak, like stupid little thing. Just somebody was rolling to the basket and I was tagging them and I put my hand on them and I heard it. I heard it pop. I went to the sidelines. I was like, I tried to hold the basketball, like I moved my hand. I tried to shoot. And then just like that, moved this way. And I was like, yeah, I'm cooked. Like he called up that he was cooked. Yeah, it's crazy, right?
Yeah.
But he said, now look at this. This is they say, like he's still conditioning. He feels like he's in game shape, right? Maybe not where he was before he got injured, but he's still in shape. And he's doing all like lefty stuff, like left-handed workouts. I really can't touch it right now, but literally just layups, floaters, and a bunch of running. So, he's working on his left hand. So in the NBA, you have to be able to shoot and do layups and all that stuff on both hands. So, we'll see. We'll see. But yeah, it's not ideal. It's not ideal.
Listening to him yesterday, I was thinking how he gets deployed as a Sixer this year, talking about, again, going to a 3-guard lineup that includes Maxey, Grimes, and VJ Edgecombe. My expectation is when he's healthy is he comes off the bench for the Sixers and he becomes more of that spark plug. I think having him, Kelly Oubre on a second unit would be a pretty damn good second unit as far as guys that can actually score the basketball coming off the bench there. I'm very intrigued by this because I in no means am excited for the Sixers season as if, they're going to win the championship based on how they're going to play. But I look at this still, and this all hinges on more Joel Embiid and Paul George and whatever you get out of them. But when I just try to evaluate 4 guards with one coming off the bench in Jared McCain and even 5 guards, including Kelly Oubre, I'm very intrigued, not just about what we talked about in the first segment with how Maxey, Embiid, and Paul George work it out on the floor together, but I'm also very intrigued in how these guards get together because we've talked about it many times. Nobody of that 4 is a point guard, Keith. Nobody there's everyone there is a 2-guard by nature that's trying to be a facilitator as a point guard. So you have a lot of guys that play a very similar position. That, to me, is a lot harder to figure out how everyone's going to be moving, how everyone's going to be pushing, not just in transition, but also in the half-court set. That, to me, is going to be tougher pieces to fit together in this puzzle than it is Edgecombe learning Joel Embiid or Grimes learning Embiid. Those guys all play in the same position, learning the proper spacing. That, to me, is the bigger challenge. And still, VJ or a guy like Jared McCain coming off the bench or even learning his role in that regard, I think that's going to be a bigger challenge throughout this season, and that's where I'm most curious to see where the development comes and how quickly it comes along this season.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, and that is the big challenge. Guys going to get their roles together and learn, like you said. And that's the tough part about it, right? I mean, that's the tough part. But yeah, it's like it all sounds great on paper, and I think we'll talk more about it in the last segment.
Yeah.
But it all sounds great on paper, but it's hard when you just don't have the people out there doing everything. You're missing a lot of valuable time.
Yeah. Let's get into that. You talk about these guys all coming together with these new faces, and it's true really in every sport. Every team is on a 1-year deal. Like, it's always different. Something's different from 1 year to the next, whether it's a role player, whether it's whether there's a star, a coach, like every team is different. When you look at this team and you look at what they could have with a little bit of health on their side this year, to the point where, again, I'll put it at, 60 to 65 games. I was at, I think, 50 as the most optimistic at the start of training camp, and then seeing Joel Embiid progress, I'll say 60, 65. But as this team kind of comes together right now, who do you think the guy is that they rely on the most? Like Tyrese Maxey was the guy that set the bar during media day, that no matter what, we have to have a brand of basketball as the 76ers, that no matter who's playing, we're out there playing this style of basketball. Who do you think that guy is that they're going to lean on this year to make sure that that person is the catalyst for this new style, new attitude, new culture of Sixers basketball?
It has to be Tyrese Maxey. I mean, he's the only one. We're talking about Joel Embiid. We don't know if he's going to play every day. We don't know when he's going to play, when he's not going to play. We don't know if Paul George is going to be ready for the start of the season or when he's going to be ready. The person that the most availability is the best thing that you can use to rely on people. Yeah. That's the best one. So it's going to have to be Tyrese Maxey. It's going to have to be him.
All right. Now, this was something that raised your eyebrows and mine when Nick Nurse said this yesterday, and it has to do with the foundation of this team. We'll talk about that when we return and where what the status. We talked about status of injury, status of the foundation of this team less than a week away from the season opener. Talk about that and more when we return. This is Locked On 76ers. Make sure you like and subscribe. Back right after this. Now it's time to tell you about Wayfair. Holidays are going to be here before you know it, which is exciting. But getting your home ready for guests and celebration, it can always feel like a lot. But Wayfair's there to make it as easy as possible. Wayfair makes all this easy to personalize your home for the holidays with a huge selection for every style and budget. And with free and easy delivery, even on the big stuff as well, you can get everything you need without the hassle of huge delivery fees. I love how easy it is to find pieces that fit your style, fit my budget, fit your budget. Everything in one place. Wayfair. You can check out also is a breeze on Wayfair. I love the items I've gotten from Wayfair over the years. You can get organized, you can get refreshed, you can get ready for the holidays for way less when you head to Wayfair at wayfair.com. That's WAYFAIR.com with Wayfair. No reason to stress out over the holidays when you talk about getting your house ready for company and to throw your holiday parties. Wayfair, every style, every home. And now it's time to tell you about the Gametime app. How much I love using the Gametime app. You guys have heard me talking about the Gametime app for years now. Gametime is fantastic. If you want to go to the game, you want to go to the concert, you want to go to the comedy show, Gametime app has you covered with that. Basketball season just around the corner. Nothing beats hearing the squeak of the sneaks in the arena, the swoosh going through the net. It's awesome. Gametime could put you in the action. The Gametime app gives fans the advantage. Also, the ultimate life hack for scoring amazing NBA tickets fast, easy, and stress-free is the Gametime app. Recently used Gametime to grab some seats. Couldn't have been easier. I love that you could see your seat's vantage point before you buy it. And also the Gametime guarantee, 100% authentic tickets. And their zone deals, by the way, are a real game changer. You pick the section, Gametime picks your seats, and you save big. You can even find NBA tickets for under $25 on the Gametime app. Take the guesswork out of buying NBA tickets with the Gametime app. Download the Gametime app, create an account, use promo code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, use promo code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go with the Gametime app. Foundation, Keith. Yeah. Foundation. You're going into your final preseason game tomorrow. And Nick Nurse was stressing foundation yesterday. I know there's been injuries. I know there's been curveballs along the way and whatnot, Keith. But foundation, when you heard it yesterday from Nick Nurse, I heard it yesterday from Nick Nurse. I went, that's interesting. That's interesting. Foundation. Still working on that?
I mean, yeah. I mean, it's an unfortunate situation for him because let's face it, as much as they want to say positive things and they want to get excited about certain things, it's hard for any team to go into preseason games playing without your top players. I mean, when we talk about it, you got 3 max players that you built this team around. Only one of them is on the floor. Your you're going with a new offense, partly because of the injuries of the other two, but at the same time, you don't even know how the other two, all three of them as a unit, are going to coexist together, because you haven't had that last year. You only played 15 games together. And let's face it, Paul George, when he played in the games with Joel Embiid, he struggled compared to what he did without. So now you're going to this new system and you don't even know like what you have. Then we talk about Trendon Watford. They wanted Trendon Watford because they felt like he was a nice passing big man. He's not playing. Quentin Grimes just came back. Jared McCain, we talked about him. He's another guy who has yet to play. So when you're supposed to build the foundation during the preseason. And let's face it, the guys came back. Before training camp, they were at the practice facility working together for 3 weeks. It would have been great to have all your players there to do that. So that's where you build the foundation. Now you should be tweaking on certain things. You should have your rotation set. You should be able to say, okay, this bench guy right here is going to really help us. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, absolutely.
Things like that. And now it's just a tough situation for them. And this is like, I know a lot of some people could be critical of Nick Nurse, but this is the third season that he's going into there with no foundation. Like, from the beginning, it was James Harden. Then they made the trade afterwards. Mm-hmm. And then they had to figure out, then they made another trade during the trade deadline that made the team work. Then last year, it was the same thing with Embiid and Paul George, right? So they have yet to build a foundation in the preseason since Nick Nurse has been here.
I think it might have been ESPN that referenced the process, and that's what put this thought in my head. But if you would have told people the night they traded Drew Holiday that the next however many years we're just going to be concerned about injury, whether it's Joel Embiid, whether it's Ben Simmons, whether it's now Paul George, or a promising first-round pick in Jared McCain, it's just absolutely insane how that has been the main concern. I mean, talent-wise, they've had talent, but being able to rely on that talent to be out there, and as you mentioned earlier, best ability is availability. These guys just haven't been available. And I go back to Nick Nurse, and I go back to Brett Brown when you referenced Nick Nurse, because I remember your question about Brett Brown in the bubble. Did you ever get a real opportunity to coach this team when they were 100% healthy and had the pieces in place? And he answered very simply, no. And here we are, still years from now, removed from even that, and it's still the same concern. And it's not just about getting back from injury. People talk about the mental aspect of injuries all the time, where it's not just about getting over the physical aspect of the injury, where, oh, now my knee works. It's now about trusting that your knee works. And then after that, you got to now get on the same page of your teammates. So it's like there's the three phases of getting back from injury. There's the physical standpoint, the mental aspect of it, and then the chemistry aspect of it. And the Sixers, while they've waited forever to have everybody back from injury, which they're doing now still, they still got to worry about trusting the issue, trusting the injury, and they also have to worry about everybody getting on the same page so they could cultivate that chemistry and build that new foundation after that. So it's a wild thing to think back over the last decade or so of Sixer basketball and go, wow, this was a lot of time spent worried about injury. And I hope for the Sixers fans, I hope for their case this year, and a lot of these players as well, that this is the year where that all comes together. I'm still going to hold out a little glimmer of hope for people on that.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's a little bit, but I don't think it's going to happen. I mean, I just don't. I mean, who knows? No, it could, but here's my thing, man. It's
I'm not betting on it
either. It's a lot that they have to overcome. It's just a lot.
I hear you, brother.
Yeah, there's a lot.
Keith Pompey, Mark Farzetta. This is Locked On 76ers. Make sure you guys like and subscribe. Locked On 76ers. We'll be back with you guys tomorrow. Ahead of, or maybe even after. No, it's a home game. You got things you got running around to do.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll react on Saturday to the Sixers preseason finale. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned on our social media as well. We'll let you guys know when we're going to do our next show. This is Locked On 76ers on the Locked On Sixers YouTube channel. We do thank you for making Locked On 76ers your first listen every day. For your next listen, make sure you guys check out Locked On Fantasy Basketball with host Josh Lloyd. So make sure you guys check that out, the #1 fantasy basketball podcast, giving you daily tips and helping you not only win your league, but also making you a smarter NBA fan. Find Locked On Fantasy Basketball on YouTube and wherever you listen to your podcast as well, your team every day. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Catch you guys later. Bye.
Peace.